Anybody heard from Bobby? Okay.
Yeah, some, driving first,
I'll check there.
Yeah.
Yeah, too.
Hot down there, it's still hot.
Yeah.
Take it over this. Yeah. All right. And has for a couple of years.
You're done.
Rose-
It's your hand.
Travis Swift.
Yeah, did you get shorter?
I don't think anybody's ever said that. Oh, yes, it is.
made for TV movie, wasn't it? Knew that wasn't gonna happen. Ready? Oh, my. Sorry, welcome everyone tonight to the February 13th, 2024 Graham City Council meeting. Appreciate you all being here. And if you will all bow your heads, I want to welcome to the meeting and ask Joey to lead us in our invocation.
Dear Lord, just thank you for bringing us all here safe tonight and just be with us tonight as we go over these items here on the agenda. Give us wisdom. Let us use the facts that are given to us to make the right choice. Just be with everybody and let them have a safe trip home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And if you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. This is the consent agenda, and I'll read this off. A, to approve the January 9th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Approve and seal the January 9th, 2024 closed session minutes for personnel, and approve and seal the January 9th, 2024 closed session minutes for the attorney-client privilege. B, to set a date for a public hearing on March 12th, 2024 to receive public comment regarding the consideration of a local option occupancy tax. C, to set a date for a public hearing on March 12th, 2024 to consider a contiguous annexation pursuant to General Statutes 160A-31 for a tract of land totaling 8.7 acres. And D, to approve a budget amendment to allocate $65,000 in received revenue to the health insurance reserve account at the North Carolina Health Insurance Pool and CHIP. To adopt a resolution to apply for funding for drinking water state revolving fund to conduct field service investigations on service lines within the water distribution system due to the new lead service line rule. F, to approve the following road closures for the Graham Rec Department in downtown Graham. Slice of summer closure of the 100 blocks of East and West Elm Street and North and South Main Streets on Saturday, June 8th from 1 to 9 p.m. Also request approval of the same road closures from 1 to 9 p.m. on Saturday, June 15th as an alternate date. Pumpkin Bash closure of 100 blocks of East and West Elm Street on Friday, October 25th from 2 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and North and South Main Street from 4 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Thursdays at 7 concert series, closure of the 100 block of West Elm Street on May 23rd, June 27th, July 25th, August 22nd, September 12th, September 26th for the 2024 Thursday at 7 concert series. All closures will begin at 5 p.m. and reopen by 11:30 p.m. In the event a concert must be postponed, we also request the same closure as above on the following dates: May 30th, June 6th, 13th, 20th, July 11th, 18th, August 1st, 8th, 15th, 29th, September 5th, 19th, October 30th, 10th, and 17th. 9/11 commemorative 5K race event, closure of the northbound lane of Maple Street from Pine Street to McCaden Street from South Main Street to Maple Street, the southbound lane of South Main Street from Pine Street to McCaden Street, Pine Street from South Main Street to Maple Street from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Saturday, September 14th, 2024. In the instance that the event date needs to be rescheduled, we also request the same closure as above for Saturday, September 7th, 2024. G, to approve an encroachment agreement provided by Alamance County for 106, 108, and 110 South Main Street due to a .2 foot encroachment on the building onto Maple Street right away. H, to approve a budget amendment to recognize $1,010 in insurance proceeds revenue and increase the fire department maintenance and repair equipment budget by $1,010 to replace a damaged fire hose. To approve the conflict of interest policy that would pertain to elected officials, appointed officials and staff. J, to approve the tax collector's mid-year report and to set March 14th as the date to advertise outstanding real and personal property taxes in Alamance County. And K, to approve tax releases totaling $2,624.90. So, first want to ask, the audience, is there anyone here for the consent agenda, that would like to speak on one of the items that I just mentioned? Okay, and that item is the item regarding events?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and Brandon Curley, is that anything to do, what was he here to speak about?
No, it was on the,
It's on the regular agenda, right? Okay, not on the consent agenda. Okay. Is there any one on the council that would like to have any of these items removed from the consent agenda?
No, ma'am.
Amen.
Okay. So, F, we want to be able to hear from them. So if we remove that so that they can go over that, and then we can hear also from the rec department as well. So if there's a motion to approve the remainder of the agenda items, but I wanted to ask Megan, the encroachment, can you remind me what that was? I'm sure we went over that, but I can't remember.
It's 2 inches
Yeah, what is it? Which?
for
property?
the law offices on Maple to clean up the property lines.
Oh, yes, because they're trying to do that for the county. Is that right? Okay,
Correct.
2 inches. Okay, yes, okay. All right, and I knew we had gone over it, but I was blanking on where that space was. Okay, and then, so do I hear a motion?
May I just ask, I think it was a typo in your verbal rendition in J. You did mean the Alamance News.
Yeah, when it was being read, it said Alamance County, but the publication, the advertisement would be in Alamance News.
Oh, did I say Alamance County? I apologize. I'm so sorry. Alamance News. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda, taking out item F.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Has it typically been in March that it's published? Okay. I don't know why I thought it was April.
Date is pretty typical.
Okay, and if the rec department would like to go first to discuss item number F? Or do you want to discuss it or just wait to hear from? Okay, okay. Yes, sure. Come on forward. If you'll state your name and your address.
Okay, so I'm Brittany DeStefano, and I'm representing Sandy and Company, which is on 142 North Main Street. And that's my mom over there in the corner who owns it, so I'm just kind of representing us. And I wanted to propose that we take those 2 rec department dates, the Slice of Summer and the Pumpkin Bash, and potentially move them to a Sunday. And that way it wouldn't be encroaching on our businesses, because we do typically make a lot of money on Saturdays. I know a lot of the local businesses do. And when those roads are closed, it really hurts our business. And so on Sundays, a lot of our businesses are already closed anyways, or they're closing early. And so if we were to have those events on a Sunday, you know, the kids, the families would still get to come out, enjoy their events. I'm not opposed to the events in any ways. But then, you know, if any of the businesses chose to open, they could. But nobody is losing a day of revenue that they don't want to lose. Instead, they would be having an extra day that they, could support it and stay open and have that extra revenue if they wanted to.
Okay,
And I think it would, sorry, just one more point.
sure.
I do think it would be good for the families too, because there'd be way less traffic. And there would be a lot more parking for them because us employees won't be there and a lot of our regular customers will not be in town.
Okay, and you're saying that for Slice of Summer and what other one?
In the
Pumpkin
pumpkin
Bash.
bash.
Now, the Pumpkin Bash doesn't start until later in the afternoon. Slice of Summer, what time does that event actually start? At 4. And Pumpkin Bash starts at 6 p.m.
How
Okay.
late are you open on Saturdays?
So typically on Saturdays, we're open till 5. And we've spoken to a couple other businesses too, and it's just, you never know what's gonna happen in that last hour. We could sell a wedding dress, that could be one of our huge sales. And so if they do close the roads at, I don't know if it's 1 p.m. or 4 p.m., that does hurt. And I do know I've heard from a couple of businesses too, like some of the restaurants, they have to cancel all their Uber Eats and their DoorDash orders because the drivers can't get there. And then for us, we can't have consigners bring their clothes in because the road is closed and they don't want to park too far away and then carry all their clothes. So it's just, as much as I want to support having the events, it can definitely be very disruptive on a Saturday. Like that is definitely not only our busiest day of the week, but I know a lot of other businesses, that's their busy day as well.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening.
Amy, would you like to speak?
I think, Brittany covered it all. The one thing I wanted to point out is even though the events start later in the day, should I stand up? I'm sorry.
Hey, you
Yeah,
need
if
to
you could
come to
just-
the-
Please.
Yeah.
It's just one comment that even though the events do start later in the day, on the Slice of Summer, the roads close at 1. And I've looked at my sales and 1:30, everything drops. I get no sales from 1:30 for the Slice of Summer, and then the Pumpkin Bash, the roads close at 2. So even though the events are later, the roads shut down
Okay.
earlier in the day. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not good.
No, you're fine. You did fine. Cheryl, you or Brittany or Bella would like to speak? Okay. Catherine?
Catherine Beard, I'm the owner of Yellow Couture at 113 North Main Street. I just want to reiterate the same thing. We certainly are not opposed to the events themselves. They're a great event for families, but it does hurt our business. The roads do close so much earlier, and I have no customers when 1 o'clock rolls around. That's when it stops because customers would not park somewhere else and walk. So that's just what I've experienced in the 2 years that I've been here. Per each time, it did not affect my business in a positive way. I lost revenue those days, and Saturdays are the best day of our sales. And in a June, where in the month that would be difficult anyway in retail, to lose a Saturday, like one of your 4 potential sales days, it does impact greatly. So that's just something to consider, if you will.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And so I just wanted to say that Cheryl had come to my office, I guess you guys got an email or something about this, is this right? How did you learn about this? But I thought you called me before that. Did you get an email from the city about the events?
Yeah, Mayor Talley, our city clerk will typically send notification to downtown business owners in advance of the item being on the agenda. And then whatever items pass, another notification is sent. So there
Okay.
was one sent probably last week, Wednesday of last week, to at least the list that we have. So if there are people we're missing, let us know and we can get them included.
Okay. And when you came to my office and do you mind coming up for just a second?
None of us.
So when you came up to my office, we talked a little bit about, and I said, you know, I think they're trying to close the streets later, but they have the issue of having to move all the cars and stuff like that, so they need to close a little bit earlier than when the event starts. We talked about that. You had said that you didn't know that you could, that for all these years, you didn't know that you could oppose this, is that
Oh,
right?
yeah, I had no idea. And then when she came in with the flyer the other day, and she happened to say, if you had any questions or concerns, let us know. So I let her know, it's really a terrible idea for closing the streets anytime on a Saturday. And I mean, it's hard enough trying to run a business down here, but our busiest day for everyone downtown is a Saturday. And I mean, like, it doesn't matter if it's 5 Saturdays or 1 Saturday. That's just, 1 Saturday is just too much. I know that, maybe I suggested, if you could do it in your parking lot or go to a park to do it, anywhere but Main Street and Graham, where we're trying to conduct business on a Saturday. And again, like, I'm not against the event, just the place and the time is not good for any business on a Saturday.
And I think one of the concerns, and I think we've brought this up in the past, even last year when the events were being considered, was how that affects the businesses. And so I know that I think that a couple of times, what is the name of the bar that's on West Elm Street? Little Brothers. They seem to do really well because of the type of event it is. But it's interesting that you said, who did you talk to? Because some of the city is not, when the rec department and the city are putting on events, we have to definitely take into consideration all our stakeholders and everybody that's being affected. And I can tell you, it's not our intention to hurt any businesses downtown. It's a business district. It's not a festival district. And, so that's why I encouraged you when you had concerns. I said, please come and tell the rest of the council what your concerns are. Because in the past, I've tried to personally reach out, and I've had support from Little Brothers, and I assumed that the Verdict did okay during those events as well. I know they do well during the concerts. So,
and some of the businesses may, do well from it, the
Right.
restaurants, bars. But as far as being a boutique or even a
Well-
furniture store, there are
Right.
some businesses that our customers are not
Right.
going to come to us.
right, I get that. And that was my point a year ago, I think, was that that's not always the case. And I think we brought up specifically Roasted Coffee Depot. And, so we called Jerry when you were in my office, and the owner of Roasted Coffee Depot. And I said, what is the reason that you're not open on Saturdays, during with the concerts and everything that are going on? And what was his response? Because why?
Just
Wasn't
because so
thinking
many
about it.
times that the roads are closed and
Because people
hurts.
couldn't, because of the parking, right? And because he said he didn't do any business or whatever during that time.
right,
So
yeah.
I just think that we have to be this person's now closed their business on Saturdays permanently because that road is closed
Well, and there
so
were a
many times.
Yeah, and there were a few other businesses that I talked to during the week, and they said, oh, yeah, well, I came this close to just locking my doors that day. And another owner said, well, I just close on that day. And I'm like, we shouldn't have to close. There should be no reason for us to have to close our doors on a Saturday.
And you talked to, who, wasn't it Griffin?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other person I talked to was, Lisa from the Broom Closet, Jane from,
Things above.
like several of them, they're like, oh yeah, we can't stand that. We make no money on that day.
Could
It's,
I add
yes.
a point too, not to interrupt you? So I know you brought up a good point, like a ton of the restaurants do really well. And as someone who's worked in restaurants pretty much my whole life, I love, when those big events happen. But with the diversity of all the stores, she mentioned the Broom Closet. We've got Amy here from the main line. There's a lot of places, or like us even, that have really kind of expensive or breakable or valuable items. And so when it's something that's marketed to families and to children, it might bring a lot of people into town and it might make the restaurants and the bars busy. But unfortunately, it's not our shoppers. It's not clientele for theirs. And it's people who are, hanging out, having a good time, maybe looking for a bathroom. But unfortunately, it's not people who are coming in and buying things. And then we actually sometimes too, it's like even though we don't make as much money, we almost have to staff an extra person just to kind of crowd control and make sure, there's not too many kids where they shouldn't be. And there's a lot of people who come out, just not necessarily spending money, but they're there and we just kind of have to.
I think that was another complaint from him, was that they had to close their bathrooms because they just had people coming in there constantly to use the bathroom. And as a restaurant, you really, it's really difficult to do. I think the Verdict had complained one time to me a while back about, because their bathrooms are located in the back of there, and they're not like, you don't have to
Oh, yeah.
pass an employee to get to the bathroom. So they're just coming in the back door and going to the bathrooms and stopping at the bathrooms, and kids, especially if they put too much, stuff
Right.
down the toilet or whatever, too much paper and stuff. So, I'm glad that you came, because I think like the rec department really wants to hear, because I think they genuinely care about wanting to try to work with businesses to make it a good experience for everybody. And so, I think that it's good for them to try to work on some of the things that you've brought up here today and see if there's any possibility, like for instance, on the, I had suggested them, I think last year, to see if there was any way that they could open later, because closing at 1 for a 6 o'clock event seemed like a big issue. And the complaints that I was getting from some business owners and some managers were like, so from 1 to 6, I'm just supposed to pay all my staff to stay here because I don't want to feel like I'm not participating. I want to participate, but literally from 1 to 6, we don't have any customers even before the event starts. And we're having to pay all these employees to sit here to wait
Right.
till the event starts, to give out candy or whatever. Because I think most of the businesses, at least for that event, I know they try to stay and give out candy and things. So if they're closed, it's a little difficult to get employees to like leave and then come back just for an hour to give out candy or
Right.
something. So I was trying to offer solutions last year to some of the business owners to say, well, maybe you could cut the majority of your staff at 1 and then just have 1 or 2 people giving out the candy so you're still participating at 6. But again, I don't know that that's always a great solution either. So, but
We just hate to have to lose business
right.
on our busiest day. And it's hard enough in June, I mean, things are slow enough in that time frame.
But you wouldn't be opposed to any event as long as the road stays open.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need a place for our customers to park.
Okay.
I had one question. You had mentioned the pumpkin bash, but that's on a Friday. So what was your issue with that?
Well, my apologies, because I thought we were told it was on a Saturday, but I do see it's a Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday.
I definitely like Friday is still busy. I would prefer it not to be on a Friday. I know you can't really change Halloween. Sunday would definitely still be better though, just because we're not open. Most of the businesses are closed anyways on a Sunday. And then whoever wants to participate, if there's restaurants that make money off of it and they want to participate and be part of the community, they can be excited about it and they can choose to open. But for us, yeah, Friday, Saturday. Friday's not necessarily as busy as Saturday, but it's still a day, people are getting paid, they're getting off work a little bit earlier. They usually would come to town. And I know me personally, if I had just got paid and I went to my favorite little boutique and I was, somebody came in the store and said, hey, you need to move your car, I'd probably just go home
Mhm.
or I would go to a different mall. So yeah, but I do apologize. I thought they were both, Saturdays.
Thank you.
And you normally close on Fridays at 5?
Mhm.
Okay. So it would basically just inconvenience you that one hour, right?
Well, even before, the
Well, I'm
roads
just
start
saying on
closing-
Pumpkin Bash on West and East Elm Street, they're closing at not at 4, they're closing at,
There's
2.
Yeah, so if
Two.
it could either be, a little bit later and even before they
Four.
officially close it, usually, the officers will come in our store and ask people to move their cars, or a lot of our shoppers, if they know an event's coming on, like I'll have people call and ask when they can come in and bring clothes. If they know there's something going on like that, a lot of them will just not come, or they'll, say they're coming next week, which you never know if someone's really coming back. So yeah, if it could even be pushed up later, that will be helpful as far as the road closures.
Okay.
We don't mind having events and having a lot of people in town. We did a huge, you were there, we had
Yep.
a huge,
Great,
Gallon- yeah.
huge success
so
last week.
amazing turnout
Mhm.
for the Galentine's event. And what I was actually really surprised by was a lot of children enjoyed it. So we actually had a face painter outside of our store. So we marketed it as, come support small. So it was very much marketed towards adults and come shopping and spend money and, go have your pink cocktails and spend money.
pink
But a lot of them, a lot of families actually came out. So that was still a lot of fun. And,
The
the
bars
kids
did
got
good,
to-
the
yeah,
restaurants did good,
great,
everybody did good, all
and we
the
didn't have to close
stores.
the streets. So it didn't impede our everyday shoppers. They were still, maybe it was a little harder to park because it was so crowded, but you could at least kind of get through those streets and see what was going on.
Yeah. It was a great, great day for everybody. Everybody was very excited about that. I heard a lot of great feedback from it. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Ron, or I'm not sure who wants to speak from the rec department.
We can try to answer any questions that you guys may have, but this is the first that we've heard of any of the, first that I've heard. I'm not sure if Emma or Brandy have spoken directly with anybody. But again, I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that the council may have, or, we constantly ask for feedback from downtown businesses. Whether that gets through to the correct channels, I'm not exactly sure. As Megan mentioned, the right email address may not be entered in the right thing. We might not have the right database information, but we constantly try to reach out to businesses to get feedback like that. Slice of Summer is the most difficult event that we do logistically because of water and parking. We can't move that anywhere else because we don't have enough water access throughout the park system to make that event function. We don't have parking capacity within our parks to make those events function in the park boundaries itself. So moving Slice of Summer to a park it would just die. It's not possible to the scale that it is anyway. Sunday I've never considered, honestly, because it's personally, I typically reserve that for church and family. Yes, these are family events, but that's just historically how we've operated. Something we could consider, but not sure with all the vendors and whatnot if that's a possibility or not. It's something we would have to explore. But again, I'll be glad to try to answer any questions or address any concerns.
So like, it's not during church hours though. It's from 4 PM until what time? 8. Yeah, okay. So from 4 to 8 PM. And then, and you close the streets at 1, is that right?
Yes, to set up the water system and to set up the inflatables and
Okay.
whatever other vendors we have.
And that's the latest you can close them, is that right?
For Slice of Summer, we've noticed over the past couple years that we're even pushing it to be ready by 4 o'clock. This past year, I know at 3:30, there were still several cars parked on North Main Street as well as East Elm Street. And with this event in particular, unlike Pumpkin Bash, where if there's cars there, we can set up those inflatables around them, and unfortunately, they may be blocked in. With Slice of Summer, those big hoses that have to run along the curb of the road could have a potential to burst and damage a car. So with that event, we can't run those hoses if there's still cars in place. So we're kind of just left waiting for those cars to move to get the water system completely set up. So that is why with that event, it is the most difficult logistically, timing wise, to close it much later or really any later than 1 o'clock. Because a lot of it, I'm not going to lie to you, a lot of it has to do with the fact that cars don't move when the roads are closed. If cars moved and there were no cars left on the streets at 2 or even 2:30, we could probably hustle and make it work, particularly on our main streets. We don't want to, one, impede traffic or businesses even more than we have to. But the fact of the matter is cars don't move. And,
Is there a way that like maybe that morning of we could, you know how they do for parades and stuff and they put like all the signs down the thing that says that it's going to be closing that day at such and such or whatever that at that time? Do you think that would help to get people to move their cars?
So we have a limited amount of barricades that we're able to use to put signage out that we have used in the past. We try to hit the hot spots with those. Brandy has actually reached out to Burke about utilizing a different type of cone/pole that we can put signs on to have more signage downtown about the streets being closed. Ideally, that will work. A lot of the times people just don't read signs. We've seen people park right in front of our barricades that say the road is closed and read it and walk into the restaurant anyways, or into a store anyways, which is why, they mentioned having an officer come into the store and say, just reminding people, hey, the road is closing, just to give people heads up so they're not getting blocked in. But that's because a lot of the times the signs and the notices are being ignored, unfortunately, or just not seen out of happenstance of walking by it.
Yeah. How long does it take if all the cars were moved, like how long would it take for you to actually set up Slice of Summer, say on Main Street?
That would be a better question for our guys with the water department who are the ones physically setting it up. I think we could, on Main Street, if we pushed it to about 2:30, if all the cars are gone, I'm sure we could accommodate that because in the past we've had to, because the cars haven't been moved until that time. They work in the company we use to set up the inflatables, as well as the guys from the water department work in sections. So unfortunately, there's a finite amount of people and they have to start here and work their way around to other areas. So it's not like we could push everything back to 3 and get it done in an hour, because there's only a certain amount of people who are working at that time to make it happen. But I think if we were able to tackle, similar to how we do for Pumpkin Bash, we tackle East and West Elm Streets first. And again, I don't want to impede their business any less or more than North and South Main Street, but trying to leave our Main Street open as long as possible. We do tackle Elm Streets first for Pumpkin Bash in order to push back that closing time for Main Street later. And so if all cars were moved in a perfect world, that is something that we could definitely explore.
Is there any way that they could have more people from the vendor show up so that Pumpkin Bash could be 4 PM for all the streets? That they could simultaneously been
tried to-
working on that?
We tried to push it back to 3 PM. I don't know if you remember in 2022 for East and West Elm Streets.
Yeah.
And when I came back last year, I requested for it to go back till 2 PM because we were too crunched for time, and we have people showing up early for that event anyways. And it just was becoming a safety hazard with our vendors still loading in late and the vendors setting up the inflatables still working because we got pushed back at that 3 o'clock time on Elm Street.
And as far as I know, we have all of their staff on site. They don't have any more people to bring.
Yeah, they bring a whole fleet of people for those events.
Yeah, it's just, like if you're a restaurant and say you're like the Verdict or whatever, or you're Skids, or you're one of those restaurants on Main Street, and you have an event that comes in and closes and prevents people from being able to get there, like, it's really difficult to, like, you have to shut your DoorDash off. You're paying your employees kind of to stand around and not be able to really do anything. You have to, if they have, for instance, the Passion just burned, and we were there the next day, and it was just a steady flow of people that were coming there. And I was texting her saying, you've got to cut your DoorDash off and you've got to cut your online ordering off. And, she did that from the inside the store. And of course, she wasn't allowed inside the store because they were still doing a fire investigation. So it's, it's just we got to try to work it out to where it's, not such a huge setup time, I guess. And everybody's just sitting around waiting for the event to start, and also not making those businesses feel like they have to close. I hate that. I mean, my heart just kind of sunk when Jerry said, well, I've just given up on being open on Saturdays. I mean, I know that you guys don't want that. I know that neither one of you want that. And I know that the city doesn't want that either. So I want people to feel like these events are not a deterrent from them being able to operate their business on a Saturday. And I want them to feel like this is a good thing, not a bad thing. So,
Well, I can assure you that we've tried everything to condense and to be as efficient as we possibly can. So if there's other areas within the city where we can move things, parking lots and whatnot, maybe there's some infrastructure there that we possibly can do that. But Slice of Summer is the one that we cannot do anywhere else but on the street because of the water capacity and the drainage. I mean, that's the one. So if we need to look at an alternative, then that's what we need to look at. But that one is pretty much as efficient and as compact as it can get.
is there any ideas that you have to make it easier for, and I'm not saying that Jerry now at this point, he's kind of not open on Saturdays. I doubt that he would reopen, but the Thursdays at 7 concert, because that's on West Elm, that doesn't really affect any of these business owners. So I think that would be okay. I'm assuming that's okay with them. And the Verdict likes it and the bar likes it. So that's a good thing. It's just that, I hate to think that coffee place is not operating as a result of that. But if there's any opportunities to maybe, I don't know, help him or make that a positive thing for him somehow. As far as I know, there's not any other coffee being served over there. So I don't know if he just decided it just wasn't profitable for him to be open during the concerts or what.
We had talked to him, I think last year when handing out our flyers, and kind of mentioned like this would be a great opportunity to serve like your frozen coffees or ice drinks specifically for the concerts or even Slice of Summer being on a Saturday. And unfortunately, his thing from what he had told us in that conversation was it turned into more people just wanting to come inside and use the bathrooms,
Right.
and it just wasn't worth it.
That's what
They
he's telling
typically
me.
close at 3, so they're closed by the time the concerts are beginning anyways. And as far as our events, the ones that do affect him, as far as street closures, is us closing the street at 2 o'clock. on West Elm Street for Pumpkin Bash, which is an hour before they close. And then the day of Slice of Summer, which is a Saturday, they're not even open. So for our events on West Elm Street, that's truly affecting his business hours. It's Pumpkin Bash for that 2 o'clock time period. And we kind of gave the idea, like, it'd be great for you to expand your business hours during the concerts for these things. And it came back to bathrooms, as you mentioned, which I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to deal with cleaning up after that either, even though we provide porta potties for all of our events. If people have an option, they're gonna try to find a real bathroom.
Yeah. Any suggestions from anybody here? I think you said that you would be able to meet with would you meet with the fire chief to see about the water? Or who would you need to meet with to see if there's a potential to move that Slice of Summer back to 2:30 for?
That would depend on all the cars being moved. So I'm not sure. Aside, we hire EDS for all of our events, and they do I feel like they go above and beyond trying to find owners of vehicles once the streets are closed. But sometimes it's difficult for them to do that. So to push the time back, it would really, really come down to the cars being off the street when the
So
street
if
actually
If we
closes.
spent the money to have some sort of signage or something down there that says, because I know that like when we close our parking lot, we deal with the same thing. But
Mhm.
I think what really helped, this just speaking from my personal experience from trying to close down my private parking lot that I own privately, it's not a public parking lot, that putting the sign up saying the parking lot's closed to traffic after, 5 o'clock on, that has helped me tremendously. Now, I don't know, but I would hope that if we had I know that when they put the signage out there at BB&T, the electronic signage saying that the streets are closed and stuff, I felt like that helped a lot,
Mhm.
a whole lot. And I think maybe putting signage out there early, maybe even the night before, so that if anybody parks that morning, they would know they have to have their car moved by whatever time it is that you need to have it moved by. Do you think that's a possibility that we could try that and see if that helps?
I'm
I mean, it
open
would
to
still
trying
be a
things.
compromise, I guess, between what time they want it to close and what time you guys have to have it closed.
Yeah, I'm open to trying because as we said, like, it is not ever our intention to cause a negative financial impact to our downtown businesses. That's definitely not our intention. If anything, it's the opposite. We want to
know.
bring people downtown and
Right.
and I've expressed this to these people because I was able to talk with them on Friday briefly that, the hope is that with these thousands of people who may have not ever been to Graham or in town, the hope is that they come back. Because I understand Slice of Summer is not a conducive shopping event. You got a lot of wet people. They don't want them in their boutiques, and I understand that. The goal is that they will come back and it will give their business exposure they wouldn't have had otherwise. So that's not our intention. We're open to trying to find a way to make it work. We do utilize the message boards on Main Street a week ahead of time, at least to notify of the street closures. We also use the one from Alamance County Emergency Management and put it on East Elm Street for Pumpkin Bash and then also for Slice of Summer. So we're utilizing those resources. And we are, as I said, Brandy's already reached out to Burke about additional cones to have additional signage for street closures, in the hopes that that does help get cars moved when the streets are closing.
So do you think you could move back the date for Slice of Summer, or do you think we could postpone just that one event to possibly look at that? And you're saying Pumpkin Bash, Brian, you're saying there's no way to possibly move that back at all for Pumpkin Bash on West and East Elm Street, or even East Elm Street?
Move it back date wise or?
No, move it back time wise, so that all the streets close at 4? That would,
Time wise, no.
okay,
It's just not possible for either event. We may have an hour or so if the cars are moved for Slice. And that's gonna be the water department, those guys who come out and deal with the fire hydrants and lay the hard lines for the water. But they can do some work in a quick hurry if they have a clean street. But it's gonna be having a clean street. So either way, whether they close it 1:30 or 2:30, we're gonna be moving cars prior to that, so it's ready by 2:30. I mean, we build in ourselves a buffer of 30 minutes or so they can work in sections. When they have a clear section, they're able to go and lay that line. There have been years, last year was one of them, that they don't have a clear section, and so they just have to sit for 10 or 15 minutes until a car is moved, or they reroute it as best they can, and we're bumping up against the people arriving for the event. And when we get in a hurry, things can happen. And so I know they don't want to miss something, and we don't want them to miss anything when we have that much water flowing through town.
okay.
So it's possible, but there's a lot of ifs and buts that need to happen. And with my experience with doing the concerts for years on West Elm Street, I used to put a barricade 8 feet long, bright as you want it to be, with a sign saying the street will close at 5 o'clock. Please have cars removed for the Thursday at 7 concert series. I would put them out early in the morning. Brandy still does it. I'm not sure what time of day she puts them out. And it's right in front of where the outdoor seating is,
Yeah,
where we have to pull up at 5 o'clock to unload the stage, where the bands pull up to unload their equipment. Those are the most critical spaces that we need to block off as quick as we possibly can. And there have, without fail, there's always someone we have to move, whether we have signs there or not.
is it
So I try
possible?
to block the parking spaces. Anytime one comes open at about 4 o'clock, I'm putting a barricade in it.
Okay. Is it possible that you could contact that vendor for Pumpkin Bash? And I know you say he brings all his employees, but is it possible that he could staff up for just that one event? Even if it cost us a little bit more to hire him to be able to bring more people so that we could close the roads at 4?
That is with him being staffed up to come to our event. We're one of the largest events that they do, numbers wise, of the numbers of inflatables they bring, and that is him being staffed up to come to Pumpkin Bash and Slice of Summer.
We can ask, but we already asked, so I'm not sure how much more capacity he has to push.
Well, I mean, I hate to just not be, they're asking us, and I mean, I think the least we could do is just say that we're making an effort to try to do what we can to work with the businesses to keep the roads open as much as we can so that they're not losing business, but
We agree. I hope that everyone hears that we're already doing as much as we possibly can do.
I tried to reassure them of that. I mean, I told them, like, especially about Pumpkin Bash. I mean, I know that events that I've been involved with, I always try to encourage to keep the streets open so that it isn't kind of negatively impacting businesses that are down here. But I say from my experience of attending Pumpkin Bash, there are too many people to not have the roads closed. Like, it would be a huge safety issue.
Yeah.
And they were fine with that, but I think they just want to see if there's any way, like, if we could have, even if it cost us more from the vendor having to hire people for that weekend or for that particular day to come in, is that possible?
We can ask.
We can ask,
Okay.
and also for, like, just an example of things we're trying to do for Pumpkin Bash. When it closes on East Elm Street at 2 o'clock, I pull the barricades up past the parking lot at Colonial Hardware to allow access to the private parking lot, as well as parking outside of Farm Services, because that was something mentioned a few years ago that was difficult for those
Yep.
businesses. So there are efforts that we are trying to make where it's feasible and where we're still keeping our participants and businesses' safety in mind, for those type of things.
Yeah.
So I can reach out to our vendor as far as to see the cost and how much it, and possibility of adding additional staff to potentially push back the slice of summer time frame.
Okay,
As I said, we tried it to push back to 3 o'clock for Pumpkin Bash, even with their adding more staff, and it just, it didn't work. It was a safety issue that that year.
last couple of years, Mike Holt hadn't been open on Elm Street, but he's open till 5 on that day, so I know he would appreciate it as well, but yeah, we just appreciate all the efforts that you're making, and I reassured them when I talked to Cheryl, she will tell you that I said that I know that they're trying to, keep everybody, like, I feel like there's a compromise in here some way, somewhere. So I appreciate you guys going to the extra effort to try to address their concerns.
Absolutely.
Yes. You have to step up, sorry. Just state your name and your address because everything's being recorded, so we have to do this for our clerk and for our minutes.
Sure. So this is Brittany again and Bella.
At Sandy's.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, so it sounds like as frustrating or as difficult as it is for us on Saturdays, it seems that it's just as difficult for you guys to set up on Saturdays too with all of the cars because everyone wants to shop on Saturdays. So I kind of just wanted to again say, like, can we consider maybe Sundays? Because then they would have as much time as they need and it would just be a lot easier because there already wouldn't be many cars or any on the roads on Sundays. So
Do you feel like it would be easier for you guys too? Because I'm sure it's annoying to try to get everybody off the road and they don't want to get off the road. And, they're coming downtown to shop. They don't realize any of that's going to happen. But on Sunday, the majority of the businesses are closed and those of us who are open are only open until 2 or 3 p.m. And if you've ever been, downtown Graham after 3 p.m. on a Sunday, it is dead. There are no cars to move off the street. There's plenty of parking because none of our businesses are using it on a Sunday. So I think, not only would it make us feel better because we would make more money, but it could be good for the rec department as well, just because it wouldn't be nearly as much of a hassle. You wouldn't have to go spend extra money, hiring extra people to get it done on time. And, I don't want to take away from anybody's church time or their family time. But if they keep, those hours kind of where they are now, 1 or 2 o'clock, you're still having your time to go to church, go get lunch
something to do
together.
with the family after
Right,
church.
you can bring your whole family to the event. Yeah. Or even food trucks, if anybody wanted to, if they wanted to invite any food trucks, because I'm sure they don't want to have a whole event and nobody's open and there's nowhere to eat after.
Right.
But it's something like, you could reach out to the businesses or bring in food trucks, bring in outside food. And then too, you don't have the issue of people trying to run in and use everyone's restroom because we're all closed anyways.
Thank you so much.
I think maybe part of the issue with the Pumpkin Bash being moved to a Sunday might be kids the next day. Since it's in October.
I think it ends at
At 10:30, I think, right? Is that,
Time
am
does
I right?
9.
9?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it said 10:30.
No, the roads are opened at 10:30,
Okay, that's the road closure.
Yeah.
Okay.
but the event actually ends at 9.
But I think that's why they try to do it on a Friday or Saturday, because, they don't have to worry about school for
Yeah.
the kids and stuff, especially the little ones, but yeah.
Well, I'm Catherine. I'm glad you mentioned the pumpkin bash. Because I had a question. If the caveat for Slice of Summer is the water issue, and that's why downtown Graham is the perfect location, that doesn't impact the pumpkin bash. So why does that have to be downtown? Why can't that be at a park or in another location? If water isn't the issue, then why would it impact the businesses at all? Sure. Oh, go ahead.
Parking capacity. We do not have parking capacity for 4,000 people in our parks. the fun part about the pumpkin bash is being at night. Is what? Right. I have no issues with exploring Slice of Summer on a Sunday. Again, I don't know what that's gonna do with the vendors, and Emma deals with all those folks. So I'm not sure with how that would work out for Slice of Summer.
Okay,
But
all right, well,
No.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Thursday at 7 concerts.
I've got one thing for
Sure.
the 5/11, 9/11, sorry.
5/11.
Brian's voice is just now starting to come back, if y'all can't tell.
Are you okay, Brian?
So for just a adjustment to the 9/11 event, we have 2 dates listed in our request. I've since been able to nail down the date for the Balloon Festival. And so I want to request just September 7th for the 9/11 5K and remove the 14th as an option.
Okay. Okay, and so I make a motion, we approve Thursdays at 7 concert series as written in the consent agenda with the dates and the 9/11 commemorative 5K event with the date of September the 7th, 2024. And that we table the Slice of Summer and Pumpkin Bash until we can hear back from staff at next month's council meeting.
I second your motion, man.
Do I have a motion and a second? All approved? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. New business. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you taking time out of your night to come and talk to the city. We do want to make great efforts to work with the local businesses. Thank you so much. The city council will consider approval of a resolution of intent to purchase a Durapack Python 28-yard body mounted on a 2024 Peterbilt 520 chassis sanitation truck to replace a 210 sanitation truck. It sounded very like
Official.
no, what did they say? They said in my meeting, I went to a mayor's meeting earlier this month and they talked about a reclamation and they said with a price tag of 200 million, you get fancy words. So our sanitation truck is going to be a new 2024 Peterbilt 520 chassis sanitation truck. And I'll defer to Megan Garner for an explanation about this.
I can't make it any more exciting than you already did. But I will tell you that Public Works has a need to replace a 2010 sanitation truck. The lead time on these trucks is anywhere from 12 to 18 months, thanks to COVID. The vendor does need a resolution of intent to purchase. So you have that before you tonight for consideration. The price is approximately $425,000. This would be included in the upcoming fiscal year budget, either the full amount or the annual debt service for the upcoming fiscal year.
Have you put out RFPs for loans?
We did issue RFPs for financing. We received, I think, 4 back. We're going to reject those bids and reissue closer to delivery because we will be likely to receive a better rate, a more favorable rate for the city if we wait until closer to delivery. When we first started this process, we weren't sure what the vendor needed in order to be able to secure it. But the funding will be included in next year's budget. And like I said, either the full amount or the first debt service payment.
Now, Bert, does this do anything that our old sanitation truck doesn't do?
Don't crash. All trash landfills, dump it to landfill.
So is there any trash receptacle that doesn't like spill out all the liquids?
Liquids are supposed to be banned from solid waste, so they shouldn't be in there to begin with. So it's an
Well,
enforcement issue.
That's an
Stink.
enforcement issue. Do you know, I will say that before I worked here at the city of Graham, that I used to always throw drinks in my trash, but I have never thrown a cup full of whatever since I started working here, because that's expensive, right? Increases the weight tremendously when we take it.
£8 a gallon.
Yeah, it's outrageous. And it stinks. But I literally was in a meeting, this past week with the county commissioner chairman, and he said, is there anything we can do about the waste truck when they come and pick up the trash cans over there by the bar, about like when they crush it, all that kind of smell, just sits there in that corner. I said I'd ask.
All I'm dumping is what's in the can.
I said I
Pour out
didn't
the
mean, I
liquids.
said, stop putting fluids in there, but I should have told him that. But anything fancy about this new thing?
Only
That's
thing we're getting-
$500,000.
Only thing we're getting on this one, which is about $15,000, is the tag axle for it. Every day, trash is getting heavier and heavier and heavier. So, rather than have a truck run over weight, you can get a tag axle, which will allow you more weight. It's the bridge law of what would be getting us when DOT gets after us.
It's a bridge.
Bridge law, the weight formulas for bridges.
Oh,
And
okay.
It's your per axle weight rating.
Okay.
So it's just to disperse more load to enable us to haul more tonnage.
And will you sell off the old 2010 truck? Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Whatever scrap metal price somebody will pay for it.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve this.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. City council will consider a connection to the city's water system without annexation for property located at 1359 Terrywood Road, Haw River. Recognize Aaron Holland in regards to this.
All right, thank you, Mayor. This request is from Brandon Curley, who's the owner at 1359 Terrywood Road in Haw River. He is requesting special permission from council to allow him to connect his non-contiguous property to an existing water transmission line that runs in front of his property. Per section 13-41 of the City of Graham Code of Ordinances, the applicant is seeking special permission that will allow him to connect to that utility line without going through the annexation process. On rare occasions, the City of Graham has allowed properties outside city limits to connect to the water and sewer system. The staff recommends approval for this, and the main reason why is that we have no services out that way except for the utility. We don't run trash or recycling that direction. And it would extend our public safety into an area that they're currently not patrolling. So from a staff perspective, we do recommend approval for this.
Could you say that last sentence again?
We do not have public safety that patrols out in that area.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So basically, this connection to this property, it's closer to Burlington than it is to us, right? And we wouldn't want to.
No,
No.
you're thinking about another,
Haw River.
yeah, you're
Okay.
thinking about another project. This is just a residential piece of property with existing house on it. We just have a water line that's out that direction. A couple of the neighbors already are connected to the water line. And this individual has requested to connect to the water line as well. I think you're talking about the racetrack road
Oh, yeah. Okay.
project.
So they would be connecting and they'd be paying double the rate. Is that right?
Yes, whatever the
Outside rate. Okay. And they have no interest in coming into the city anyways, right?
They do not.
Okay. All right. I need a motion and a
Yeah.
second to approve or deny the request.
You had somebody here to speak on that, didn't you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Brandon Curley, 1359 Terrywood Road. I'm just trying to buy a piece of property from my grandfather, put a new home on it. That's all we're trying to do. Actually the water there, and the old well from the 60s and 70s there has chloroform in it. So we're pretty sure that if we drill in the same area again, it's gonna be the same water. It's all polluted from the old Lawrence Industries. I think the whole reason that city water line is even through there is because of that. They actually moved, my grandparents own all this land. They owned the land behind me on Haywood and Tyndall Road. And the city, either Graham or Haw River, paid to have all their wells on that whole road, not dug up, but taken up and city water. So I mean, basically the water's not any good around there. So it's the only option I have to have water there.
Well, we want you to drink clean Graham water, so you will,
One question.
yes,
Did I hear right, I'll pay double for the water?
that's cheap. double as cheap. I mean, really, it is. In fact, we were looking at, I mean, we just did a $83 million upgrade on our wastewater treatment, and we're running a new line for our water treatment, which is over 2 million. Yeah,
We're at 17.
I don't
Yeah.
even know what that meant, so.
it just means that you're getting your water really cheap, trust me. You're getting your water
Sounds good.
even at a double rate. It's whenever citizens hook up to water outside of our city limits and you're not paying city taxes,
Mhm.
then you have to pay whatever the city rate is, which is double, but it's still cheaper than what you would pay if you were hooking on, if you were inside the city limits of Graham. But it's a way to be fair so that you can allow people to be able to do this, but you'll have good drinking water and you won't,
That's all I want.
I tell you, it's
Most
good to
important,
have.
I take showers in it currently because I
Uh-huh.
have to. Dries out your skin. I got
Yeah.
3 girls, y'all.
Mhm.
They're not trying to deal with all that.
No.
Thank
You-
y'all.
You're welcome. You have a great evening. So do I hear a motion to approve?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the request for the connection to the city's water system at 1359 Terrywood Road in Hall River without annexation.
Madam
Do I hear a
Mayor, I
second?
second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. City Council will consider a sponsorship policy and procedure for the Graham Rec Department to establish guidelines for sponsors wishing to create a relationship with Graham Parks and Rec Department to sponsor events, projects, programs, and sites. And I will defer to my horse rec director, Brian Fawcett. Were you screaming at that Super Bowl so much that you
No,
lost your voice?
I haven't been able to talk for a week.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Hope you
Nice
feel better
surprise.
soon.
So this is pretty straightforward and simple. We're trying to get a set of guidelines to allow staff to uniformly go out and solicit sponsorships for all of the sites that we have, facilities we have, programs we do, just so we're all playing by the same set of rules. And that we know what we're supposed to be doing and the sponsors know what they're supposed to be doing and we're supposed to be providing for them. It's gone through the Recreation Commission a couple of times. Honestly, I've looked at this for the past 10 or 15 years, so I hope that it passes tonight, because I want to check it off my list. The administration and the attorneys have reviewed this, and I think we have a solid policy to move forward. Not that I expect this to be the last time we ever address this, but it'll get us started. Expect, as policies do, they evolve over time.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve this.
So, Brian, can you tell me where you got the template for coming up with this, like what this policy is?
Stole it from someone in the past 10 years. And I cobbled 3 or 4 of them together with the policies and procedures that I felt best fit our city. So one template, no, I couldn't answer that.
Does City of Burlington have a sponsorship policy like this?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know.
If Mebane does?
I do not.
Aaron, do you know? Yeah, Bob? You reviewed it and you didn't have any concerns about the legalities of the employees going out to business soliciting money?
I didn't think anything illegal about it. Also, too, the focus is each sponsorship will be into the grade.
Yes, sir.
And that's where the review will be critical. And so, anyway, that was our focus, because we knew, and also too, there's another aspect of it is that the city of Graham reserves editorial rights to change anything at all, whatever they propose. We can weigh in on it and make sure that it doesn't violate any law. The most critical thing is that each sponsorship will be looked at individually, and it'd be an individual agreement, and then obviously we will review it, make sure it's legal, at the time, considered.
Guess I just get a little bit nervous about, there being a the appearances that some businesses giving money to the city in turn for some sort of favorable, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand.
That's where I get nervous about that. I mean, not that there's any ill will or anything like that, but that you just wouldn't want a business to, I think it said up to $50,000, and then just coincidentally, that business is asking for something in front of the city council, and then we vote in favor of that business getting whatever it is, and have no knowledge. We might not even have any knowledge that they gave the rec department, $50,000. I could see how somebody else saying, well, that's how they got that, or that the appearance of this looks like something that's not on the up and up. And, even though it wouldn't be intentional, like, I just want to make sure that that's something that we can do and that is not gonna look that those sponsorships are being given and that what they receive for them is not any kind of favor with the city, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. I don't think, obviously I understand where you're coming from. I don't think it'd be a quid pro quo, period. And
Okay.
each one will be looked at individually. And of course, when it gets down to the end of the day, if something comes before you.
Right.
Individual.
How do you envision inserts and stuff like that? I mean, I don't see that that's probably a problem, because those people are getting somewhat marketing and advertising as a result of that. It doesn't look like they're paying the city off for any kind of thing or whatever, but you're not expecting like $50,000 donations or anything like that, right?
Not tomorrow.
Well,
But at some point, I hope to.
Well, it could almost be like somebody says, okay, there's gonna be a tournament, pay $50,000 for the naming of the tournament, sponsored by LabCorp or whoever. And they get advertisement, good.
So if it's like for events and stuff, I don't
Right.
think that there's a problem, but
Yeah, and we have it, so I didn't want to kill too many trees with everything, but we have, and these numbers will change as time progresses, but we have everything that you can imagine with a potential price on it, what trees or benches or picnic tables within parks, and dugout covers or ball fields. I mean, the list literally is endless. This is the Thursday at 7 sponsorship policy that I've been working with since I started Thursdays at 7 years ago. And it goes from $2,500 down to $50 a concert. And it lays out for what value, exactly what you're going to get, how many of that potential value space there is, all of those details. And the very last thing of the supporting documents for the policy is a memorandum of understanding that specifically spells out what exactly the city will give to the sponsor, what the sponsor could expect, the terms of the agreement. And within the policies and procedures that you have in front of you in the packet, it spells out what the city is allowed and is not allowed to do. As Mr. Ward was saying, it gives us full right of refusal. And it says that this, I'm not going to say it exactly as written, but this relationship does not intend to imply that the city supports whatever or agrees with a political stance or whatever stance you want to come up with for X, Y, and Z company. So it's formalizing all of that and protecting the city from those exact concerns.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring up that, I mean, you do have something in here that says, would the sponsorship create a conflict of interest for Graham Parks and Rec or the city? And
Yeah.
just, you know, as long as it's just like sponsoring events, I think that we're fine. So Ricky's got a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
You
you.
have your policy. Public comment period. We do have, Travers Webb, here from 619 East Hardin Street, who also, filled out a form here. And I know that, you had said something, the message got to me. You were concerned about the, motel down there that is, I don't know what that's called. I know what the indiscriminate name is, but the hotel there at 54 and, the interstate, the swimming pool that's outside and the vacancy of it. I know that they've had some break-ins and stuff over there. We had to fire across the street. That they've got the roof leaking now and a bunch of, tarps on the roof and stuff. But leave his concerns is like, you know, definitely the swimming pool and all that being like something being done about that being a hazard and either needs to be filled in or something needs to be done about that, what that looks like there.
Yeah, I can get with Jenny, tomorrow. We can ride out and take a look at it.
Okay. Can you also look at, I believe the billboard on the opposite side of the road is down. And I just like, I think it's been more than 6 months. And I think what the rule is, I don't know this, don't quote me, but I thought the rule was if it goes for more than 6 months and it's not being used and it was taken down, that can't be put back up. Because I think those billboards at one time, I think they're grandfathered in. And as far as how close they are to one another. So if
I'll
you
check
could
into that.
take a
I
look.
know it's close to the overlay, and I know that's a overlay regulation that you're referencing. So I have to just see if that falls into that overlay standard. We'll take a look at it.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to say, Mr. Webb?
Yes, please. Mayor, city council members,
You'll state your name and your address for the clerk.
Travers Webb, I live at 619 East Hardin Street, Graham, going out towards Chapel Hill. I've been there since 1980. And I've tried to work with Mr. Sedgepaul in the past and did achieve putting together Elevate 54 development, which I'd hope was going to help clean up the area. But since he and I's relationship has kind of fallen apart based on that offer on the Zachary property, which was 4 times what we'd agreed to, and he backed out on that for some reason. But for instance, I have the lot there on the corner directly across from 619 that I've had even Chick-fil-A interested in putting a store there. And obviously the surrounding area is not to say it's probably the worst looking place on the Interstate 40 or 85. You know, let's be realistic. It's just looks horrible. And for me, if my grass gets 6 inches tall, I get a fine or get a notice, and I have to sit and look at that swimming pool. And really the attitude, it's one of the most beautiful properties in Graham there, the point how it sits out on the interstate. And I just would ask, I've spoken with attorneys and wanted to ask the city what they would recommend for me to do or any advice, because certainly getting people into Graham, when they see that, it's just such a bad representation for our city. And I just want to ask for advice and help to try to fix up that part of Graham.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. We'll certainly have our assistant manager.
Just send the message. We're gonna meet tomorrow.
Okay. So
Great.
they'll be
Thank you.
out there. You
Roger.
hand that to Renee. City staff? Anything, Brian? Aaron?
Yes, I have a couple of things real quick. You actually touched on one of them a little bit earlier, the line of agreement that I kind of discussed individually with each of you, with the city of Burlington. Brian reviewed it along with the Burlington attorney. So I think we're ready to bring this forward to council. They're bringing it forward in March to their council, and just want to get a head nod that bring it forward to you guys for consideration. It'll be a public hearing item, but just wanted to give you a heads up that that's going to be on the agenda for next month. All right, perfect. The other item, just an update on the special use process. I did watch the Mevins meeting, and Tom was spot on with what he was bringing up as far as how they went about folks not swearing in and being able to discuss. And I think that would be the one change that we would just add to how we're doing ours. And that would allow folks to be able to have that opportunity to speak at the planning board meeting. So with that being said, I think we have a pretty good way of moving forward with planning board and then bringing it to council for your normal way of handling the special use item. So just want to give you an update on that.
That's great.
All right.
Right on.
Right on. I want you to make sure you say that to Chuck next breakfast you have with him.
Right on.
He loves saying that. He says that all the time. Right on. Okay, thank you, Aaron, for handling that and looking at that. I'd like to see if there's a way that, I know I had mentioned, have you talked to DOT about adding any additional signage down there where the Graham housing is? They just
Where the
continue to have accidents there. They've taken out that sign 3 times that says Bullis Homes, and they finally moved the sign in further, which, I mean, that's maybe a good thing or a bad thing. The sign prevented the cars from hitting the building. Now it went over. There's a area for planting that has like cinder blocks around it. It went completely over that because none of that was disturbed, and then hit the building and went inside the building. So people that are local know that curve, but people that are not local, if they have their speed up and they're not paying attention, it just seems like it just happens over and over and over again.
Yeah, so I did have a conversation with Bert just to see what conversations in the past have happened out in that area. I was gonna talk with DOT at our next TRC, because that's usually where you can catch them there, live and in person. I also shoot an email as well. That way we can have somewhat of a record of that conversation, but I have an update for you.
Okay. And are we supposed to be signing the conflict of interest things? I know we passed that in the thing, but are there actual forms for us to sign?
Yes, there will be. We'll just print the policy, and I believe the second page has an area for a signature.
Okay. All right. Renee, did you have anything for us? Joey?
No, ma'am.
Ricky?
Just one thing, Aaron, can we get, remind city staff to, remind the developers to clean their roads?
Out in the Rogers area in particular,
No, in general.
in general.
Um,
Yeah, we can definitely do that. We could just have them send a message out to all of them, just for them to keep that in mind.
Bobby, did you have anything that you would like to have us address tonight?
Well, I sent forward, we had a citizen, we took it upon ourselves to clean up the well on West Elm Street. And no one prompted her to do it. But if, is the well house right where the, island on West Pine, closes?
Aaron, can you bring that up on the screen? It looked great.
If you haven't looked at it,
My main concern is that somebody's gonna move in there. I'm being for real. Like as soon as I saw it, I thought,
Yes.
somebody's gonna move in there and that's gonna be an issue.
I think the question that's been brought to our attention, however, is that in addition to cleaning up, there was additional signage that has been placed on the well house that I'm not sure, it certainly is not indicative, it's not anything that says this is a City of Graham historic site or anything like that. And so I'm
Yeah.
wondering if that has the sanction of the city or if the city's even
But
aware of it.
she did it on her own and then came before, she went to the museum, and was talking to our volunteers, and specifically my wife. And
I meant the pictures, Aaron. Did you get an email?
yeah, I sent the email,
Okay,
but anyway. The well house,
but you can pull it, you can.
I
still
guess,
pull up
city
there.
property. And it had been used for who knows what, had graffiti and drug paraphernalia and other things.
Well,
But she put the sign up because she blessed it. She had water that she had gotten from Saint Bridget's well in Ireland. And she blessed the water, poured it in, and she just put up a sign, says,
yes, and perhaps you haven't heard from one of the, I don't know, passersby, a neighbor, somebody who at least brought some of those pictures to us with the question of why this is being allowed on city property. The cleanup is nice, but the question is why the other promotion is there for, I don't know if it's Saint Bridget or
Yeah.
something. But there's signage both outside and apparently a little table that was put inside.
put a table inside
And the question
where
is
if you want to,
why? I mean, why is that?
she modeled that after the well house in Ireland, where similar thing, where if you want to make a prayer or you dip a piece of ribbon in the water, say your prayer, go out and hang it on the tree,
I would certainly have the same question that the person had to us when they brought the issue is why the city would allow that. You would not allow it if they put that on City Hall somewhere or on any other city property, why it would be allowed there.
I don't know that we necessarily allowed it. As he said, it's something that they did without really coming to us and asking us to do it.
I understand that
So-
the origins of it did not seek permission in advance, but I think the question is whether it is to be allowed after the fact.
I guess. Why not?
You're gonna start allowing that for other things
I
in
see
the
your
city?
point.
But I see, I
That
understand.
maybe
your
we
point.
need to, make it a formal thing. Because she didn't ask permission. It was a great thing she did cleaning it up because there were needles and all kinds of paraphernalia in there, and it's great that she cleaned it up. But
I just don't know that
I'm
leaving
glad
it
she didn't get hurt
open.
doing it because
I just don't know, leaving it open is really a smart thing to do because I could absolutely see somebody going in there and trying to start a fire or something to keep warm or whatever. And it just being a issue. I guess I'd mainly probably want to talk to Burke and the maintenance people and say, should we have a door on it or something with a key? Because I just don't know that leaving it open is like you said, needles and everything. I mean, a little kid that lives in that neighborhood, I could absolutely see them going and exploring there and getting a hold of used needles and things that are just not appropriate. Or even being in there and then walking in on somebody being in there sleeping or something.
Well, and, it's just kind of I've always wondered why there wasn't a door on that thing
Yeah.
anyway.
I didn't even know
Because
there wasn't a
It's
door.
really just.
But
you're
I don't
just
want to
asking
take
for people
away from the fact that
you
she
know.
was trying to do something good. Like I want her to know that I love
appreciate
that
it.
our citizens take things upon themselves and I'm sure she had no ill intent and I'm
No.
sure she wanted to do something great for the city and I appreciate you recognizing her, Bobby, because that's what we want our citizens to do is to do things that are that they think that are, but along the same lines, I'd hate for her I'd hate for anybody to get hurt as a result of that property not being secured.
We'll get with Public Works tomorrow to evaluate that and we'll just follow up with city council.
Okay.
And Mayor, I'll try to, if I can find, and if the person is willing to speak, either to the manager or to you or the council members. The concern was the sort of commercialization, even though it's not a business, but of something that is a city of Graham property. And while the appreciation also was from that citizen about the cleanup, the question was the residual impact, including, I might add, even though some of the graffiti was cleaned up, there's some sort of emblem, I don't know, Celtic something put
There's
on.
a cross in the well house.
Yeah, and I think that's a very great question of why the city would have any part in that.
We didn't.
Well, you didn't ahead of time. Now it's been brought to your attention. And I think the question is, should it stand? And I really would urge that you consider it carefully because I think the precedent you're setting for other city property is quite broad in terms of what other people could, would, and might do. And it's like to you that you didn't do anything about that. Why are you fussing at me for doing X, Y, Z?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks so much. Bonnie, do you have anything?
I had a couple of things. I know, someone brought forward a concern about the, speed on Hardin Street and as well as brought forward a concern about, the water pooling there at Elm Street. And have we looked into anything with that, with DOT to see what our options are or, have we done anything with that or?
Yeah, so immediately after last month's meeting, we relayed the speeding and running of traffic signal concerns to the police department and asked them to pay particular attention. And Public Works relayed the pooling of water concerns to DOT. I would say that they were aware of it before we brought it to their attention again. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. And the other thing was, the intersection at Maple and Gilbreath that I had brought up before, and thank you, Aaron, and whoever else helped you look into that. I have to say, I wasn't really pleased with the options that came back to us on that. I think, it's a shame that the DOT doesn't feel it warrants any further, restrictions as far as either speed or a four-way stop or anything like that. But I would like to, I would like to get it put on the agenda to discuss our options at least, and see if maybe there's something that the city's willing to
What
do.
intersection is that?
Gilbreath and, not Maple, excuse me, Gilbreath and,
Yeah.
yeah, it's Maple.
Mhm.
Yeah, right there. You know where you turn left? Like if you're coming from Main Street down Gilbreath towards Maple,
Uh-huh.
and you get to Maple, right there where you stop at Maple you know, it's a blind spot and right now we've got a left turn lane there, which personally I think we need to get rid of because that left turn lane, you have to stop so far back that, you know, because of people turning left off of Maple onto Gilbreath, if you pull forward so you can see, you know, it gets dangerous. Sometimes you have to back up because somebody else is trying to turn left from Maple onto Gilbreath. And I mean, I almost hit somebody the other morning going to breakfast because they just pulled right out in front of me. I mean, I was coming down Maple. They pulled right out in front of me like they never even saw me. And, you know, my concern is, you know, I was looking at the traffic study y'all did, and it did show, you know, that there had been some incidents, but I guess nothing that warranted further action in the DOT's eyes. See, they own Maple Street, but we own Gilbreath. So we've already got stop signs on Gilbreath, but we don't have anything on Maple. And people tend to fly through there, you know, they come down off of Moore Street, they come over the bridge and they're going 40, 45 miles an hour. And these people are trying to pull out of Gilbreath. You know, you take your life in your own hands there. And I think maybe we need to discuss the options that you gave us.
But Gilbert
Uh,
ends there, right?
No, no, it continues across.
Continues across.
Yes. Yes, and it's been a problem area for a long time. And, you know, I know there's some shrubs that are planted at one of the homes there on Maple that block the view even further. But even if those were taken out, I think it wouldn't solve the problem because there is a bit of a incline on the landscape there. So there would still be a bit of a blind spot there. I mean, personally, I know they're not gonna, we can't afford to put a stoplight there, but I would like to see people slowed down in that area anyway.
Could we
'Cause they-
show DOT that traffic accident that we posted about a year ago?
They're well aware.
They're aware of it.
They know about
it was-
that, everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're saying basically anything we do, if we wanted to put up a four-way stop, we would have to get it approved by them, first of all, and then the city would have to pay for it, even though they own Maple Street, which I thought was kind of a crock.
Well, how much are
So-
street signs that say stop on them? They're not that expensive, are they?
I couldn't tell you. I'd have to ask.
We can afford.
The signs themselves probably wouldn't be the cost.
Getting
Getting your stop bar painted on the road with the right, I'll say thermal something kind
Yeah,
of paint.
yeah.
We had a cost from probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it was probably 3,000 or so per bar. Obviously, it'd be more expensive now, but that was a pre-COVID price times 4. So it's, you know, a fairly decent amount of money. It's not just Public Works Department getting 4 stop signs out there to put in the ground, of course, after it had been properly located.
Why do we have to pay for it if they think that it's?
They don't
Right now, they don't.
warrant any further action on their part. They don't, you know, there haven't been enough. I guess they're waiting for somebody to die, which is very disturbing to me. You know, their argument was, well, the speed limit's 35 there, and there's a sign that says to slow down to 25 right before that intersection, but people don't do it. It's just like moving the cars for the events. They don't do it. You know, that's the problem, you know, is, you know, they just fly right through there. Like I said, they go 40, 45 miles an hour through there, and that's too fast. It's dangerous.
Road calming things that we could get DOT to consider other than.
Well, all those options have been presented to them. They just don't see that there's a need to change anything as it currently is constituted. It's fine to them. Anything that would need to be done, it would almost have to be borne by the city. I mean, there are options that we could take. The number one option that was on that list, but that's asking council to do something that,
Yeah,
you know, I'm not sure if that's something that you have an appetite for.
I don't.
I would concur.
I think that would set a really bad precedent for us to do that, in my opinion.
What was that option?
Condemning the property that has all the bushes and trees planted on it. I don't think we'd want to, that wouldn't be something I'd want to explore. So,
And what has been the discussions with that property owner?
Everything. I mean, right after the accident happened that, you were referring to,
Mhm.
other small incidents that have occurred, it's more of like, this is why we need to be able to cut this back, for these type of situations. We just have not gained any traction whatsoever.
And what is their position?
It's their property.
the property, then you would want.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. It's the second lot.
Second lot.
Yeah, going towards the bridge.
And you won't appreciate how tough it is, and this doesn't do it justice. You actually have.
No, it doesn't.
Any of it in the right of way?
It's outside the right of way.
Yeah, it's not in the right of way.
It's outside the right of way.
Yeah, they've already looked into that too, and it's,
See that power pole right there, tree right beside it?
This is the area here. All this right behind the.
Yeah.
Road.
a little, it's behind the pole a little bit, but. So, anyway, it's just something I'd like to further delve into, maybe, get it on the agenda for us to discuss some options.
Okay.
Yeah, if we have consensus from council, we can add that to the March agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Megan, in regards to the complaint that we got about the gentleman that was I guess the tow truck driver that got in the accident that didn't have insurance, adequate insurance, is there a reason why that person wasn't ticketed? I know you gave a response to
For
the person
citizen.
that was hit, saying, well, you can contact this person, this person, this person, but is there a reason that if somebody gives an officer false information, I'm just assuming what he said was true, why that officer could not then charge that person with not having adequate insurance?
Yeah, I think that conversation would probably be better served in a separate discussion, not necessarily in a public setting.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, that's not the end of that, right? I mean, like, you'll do whatever you need to do to address that citizen's concern.
Yes, it's already been handled.
Okay, that's all I was.
Yes. Mhm.
No,
And I do have one thing before you skip me.
no, go ahead.
If Councilmember Whitaker was done before we get to you.
I am done. Yes.
Um,
Go ahead.
Y'all received earlier this month your first update on your key strategic actions. We appreciate the time that council gave back to us in December to have your budget planning retreat. So every month you will receive an update on your now 12 key strategic actions and the activity that has occurred within that month period. So we sent it to you, I think, on February 2nd, and you'll hear me make the same comment every month that it was provided for the prior month. But if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, anything else? I hear a motion to adjourn.
No, we got.
So we got a
closed
closed
session.
Sorry to go into closed session, apologize. I have a motion to go into closed session to consider, pursuant to terms of North Carolina General Statutes 143-318-11A3 to consult with attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged regarding Cone Commercial Real Estate Investments LLC versus City of Graham, Alamance County Superior Court Case number 23 CBS 1909.
I second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll be right back.
Continue.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
You expect.
Make sure if you needed my number or anything. All right, great. Thank you.
Hey, Travis.
We're taking down on a tree.
Yeah.
And then somebody's in an apartment complex, shopping center. Yep. Just that we track together with it. Good. Okay.
But I have to check. I think I want.
I know she lives in the neighborhood, yeah, but, yeah, I never did, I was here, but, I mean, we were sort of like in that area, because we thought the first people, especially to make a left turn out of the R, they would like, onto 54, and, yeah, and, I mean, we've already had a lot of construction traffic, that's fine. A couple of, you know, nobody's crashed, but it's been a little close. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. That kind of thing. Yeah, but we've all just been very curious, we haven't decided, I think we're looking through that, and have nothing, anything out there, so. Just thought you might know.
All right, if I find out,
Well,
be sure.
yeah.
That's just my speculation.
Well, I think that's a good word, but they're the only source I have for figuring out what's going on around here. Thank you. Oh.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, no.
Order in the court. Oh, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. This court in the state of North Carolina is now in session. God save the country and
God save the
the
queen.
king, right?
Crap.
Yeah, the king.
Come on now. Okay, so what we need to
It died.
read. God.
That wasn't me.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we come out of closed session.
I hear second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Have verbiage. Of what we need to say.
I mean, we can.
No, it's just a matter, just want to make a motion, to settle the case based on the terms, that has been proposed. And I know Mr. Bonnet is gonna be interested, and we'll certainly make a copy available to him as soon as we get a consent order, which I think will be pretty soon. So at this point, you approve the settlement, and then we take it from here, with the other parties, and then we report to the court, once we get consent order and change to the court.
Madam Mayor, I make a proposal that.
What are the settlement terms?
Yeah, well, I'll give those to you.
We'll get you the terms. Yes.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the agreement, that the negotiated agreement, and settle the lawsuit with Cone Commercial Real Estate Investments LLC versus the City of Graham, Alamance County Superior Court Case 2-3 Charlie Victor Sierra 1909, as the agreement is written. Is that sufficient
Okay.
enough, Bob?
That's sufficient, yeah.
Do I hear a second?
Madam Mayor, I make a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. And I'll just state for the record, I don't believe that the plaintiff proved their 6 requirements under the special use permit. Still don't agree with the terms, but appreciate the council and our council working really hard to negotiate some concessions for the city.
Well, I thank all of you because these things are not easy, and as you know, we've been through it about 3 or 4 rounds here, and I certainly appreciate it. I think we can move forward now.
Thank you so much. And do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.